So I also have another question. So my older daughter was colicky.
Okay.
I had her 25 years ago. And so from my understanding, having colic is you're pretty much having gas. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I tried to do the sleep training thing, but they say just let them cry it out. So, the cry it out method.
Got it.
But for parents that have colicky babies, how can you, because they could just be uncomfortable. They could just be gassy.
Yeah.
When do they know when to let their baby cry it out as opposed to them being uncomfortable from the colic?
Welcome back to We Time Convo, where we have real conversations about motherhood, relationships, and everything in between.
And today's episode is for every exhausted parent out there, because when no one's sleeping, nothing feels easy.
We are so excited to have Bailey Watkins, a certified sleep specialist for newborns through 7 years old.
She breaks down the myths and the guilt around sleep and helps parents understand what healthy sleep really looks like.
So if bedtime feels like a battle or you're just desperate for rest, this conversation is for you.
This is We Time Convo.
Convo.
Hi, Bailey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. As you can tell, we're just figuring out this whole tech thing.
Technology is constantly changing and it's definitely tricky.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you for joining us at We Time Convo.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm very excited. For our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Bailey?
Yes. So I have been an occupational therapist for 10 years. I specialize in pediatrics, and then I'm also a sleep consultant for kids from birth to 7 years of age because I felt like there was a gap in my learning as an occupational therapist and helping families. And so I wanted to learn more about sleep and help bridge that gap and treat the child holistically. And so I started becoming a sleep consultant a little under a year ago. And yeah, we're just moving and grooving now.
Bailey, I've never heard of a sleep consultant. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes. So I followed this company that I work for since almost their conception. I learned about it when, before I started OT school, and it was just this magical thing. It's founded by a speech pathologist, and I thought that was so cool that someone within the therapy world was helping kids learn how to sleep independently. We're all about adults teaching kids the things and how to grow and excel and do developmental milestones appropriately. But sometimes there are kids that need help learning how to sleep, and sleep consulting is there, and you can help as young as 2 weeks, and I'm certified up until 7 years of age.
Wow. Where were you 25 years ago when I had my first daughter?
I wish I was around because
Yes.
I wish I could help all the people.
Yeah. And do you have children yourself?
No, I don't. Not yet.
Yeah.
I would like to have a partner, a husband in crime to do it with me. So I'm in the dating world. I'm
Let's don't even start there because
it is rough, but I have 10 years of experience working with kids, 10 years plus. And so I'm very well versed in pediatrics.
So Bailey, tell me, when people come and reach out to you for help, what is some of the information that they should have and provide you so you can come to a really good start?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if they are reaching out, I might tag on that a family might be reaching out or seeking out help if their kiddo is not sleeping through the night and parents are at their wits' end and they need help. And so they come to me and I ask them questions about their sleep schedule, the daytime sleep and the nighttime sleep, because I and my company treat the child holistically. And so we want to know what is happening from wake up to bedtime and kind of piece together that puzzle. And so the family will tell me their nap schedule, how they go to sleep, where they go to sleep, the environment that they go to sleep in. And I just kind of ask questions and dig into their lives and bridge those gaps.
Now, how is it? Because sleep is so important, right? And so when should people start reaching out to you versus, this is just kind of the natural way of just kind of figuring things out?
Yeah. When their kiddo is over 12 pounds, so I'm certified through the AAP, and if you are over 12 pounds, you are safe to sleep through the night without wakings. And so that's about 3 months of age. And so if you have a kiddo that is older than 3 months, 10 weeks-ish, and they are having those frequent wake-ups, that is when they would come to me. A lot of people come during that 4-month regression. A lot of people come around that 2-year, 2.5-year mark of like, things were going great. And then our toddler got a little bit more opinionated and testing those boundaries and just flipping the switch. And so that is when they come.
Actually, a normal sleep for a newborn, let's say like in the first 3 months and then after onwards.
Until about 7 to 8 weeks is you expect 4 to 6 hour stretches, sometimes 3-hour stretches in that like 0 week to 4 or 5 week, just because they're having to feed every 3 hours. And so you're really just like eat, sleep. There's no play in there. But once they get to that 8, 10 range, 12 for sure weeks of age, you definitely want to see that eat, play, sleep routine and see 6 hours plus for a stretch. And then by 12 weeks, we expect and help our families get to know night wakings. And so then the kiddo is sleeping that 10 to 12 hours at 12 weeks of age.
I have a mom from the Philippines, and she believes feed them when they're hungry. If they're not hungry, don't force. And, we've learned to go through schedules. And she's like, oh, don't do the schedule. Feed when they're hungry. So, for example, if they're sleeping, let them sleep. Yeah. Don't wake them up for feeding. Yeah. Is that something that you've heard from people?
Yeah. Yes. I've had people ask me about dream feeds, and really I'm worried and thinking about the child holistically, yes, but also their independent sleep skills. And so I want them to be able to fall asleep on their own without any sleep props. And so if they're going to sleep the whole night, let them sleep. And then we'll increase our feeds the next day or give them bigger bottles or ounces, just bigger feeds, longer feeds, feeding or whatever.
Bailey, you mentioned sleep regression. So
yes,
what is a 4-month sleep regression and why does it feel so brutal? Because my kids have gone through that and it was a nightmare because they would sleep just fine.
Yes.
And then boom, out of nowhere, not sleep at all. They just ruin my routine. So can you explain what a sleep regression is and why that happens?
Yes. So around that age is when kiddos' sleep cycles mature to that of an adult. And so they get more cycles within their sleep REM at a nighttime sleep, a restorative sleep. And so if kiddos are not able to fall asleep on their own, they are not able to go through that regression because they're going to wake up every 40, 45 minutes when that sleep cycle flips over and be awake and think, oh, that was a nap, instead of getting that restorative sleep, that 10 to 12 hours. So it definitely happens, and it's definitely a biological thing, but you can teach the independent skills prior to hitting that regression and getting ahead of it.
So let's talk about sleep training. When is it developmentally appropriate to start sleep training? Is it once they're the 12, you mentioned 12 pounds or 4 months and up?
So our newborn plan starts at 2 weeks of age. And really, we are sleep coaching. It's very different than a kid older than 12 weeks. And so you're really sleep training around that 6 to 8 week mark because they are getting longer sleep stretches. They're not having to feed every 3 hours. They, as kids, are getting practice of bassinet sleeps, crib sleeps. They're getting contact nap sleep. So they're getting just a variety. And so really you can start sleep coaching is that word that I typically use, as young as 2 weeks, but sleep training at least by 10 to 12 weeks of age.
What's the difference between sleep coaching and sleep training?
Sleep training, I feel, in my personal opinion, is more abrupt. We are going to take away all sleep props and external supports to get your child to sleep through the night. But sleep coaching is like we're making tweaks slowly throughout those first 12 weeks of life through their package.
So Bailey, have you encountered like the challenges? Like obviously you have guidance and advice because it's difficult, right? For sometimes to follow some of these things and they don't see something right away. How do you help parents to realize that it will take time?
Yeah. I'm very upfront with my families. I tell them right off the first call, like, I expect to see change within 3 to 5 days. Like, that is the norm. And if your kiddo we're going to see change at day 5, like, I'm going to be with you and I'm going to support you. Because our packages, like, I work with families, if they're newborn, up to 12 weeks. If they're older than 12 weeks, I work with them for 2 to 3 weeks. And so if they're like trying with fidelity and they're doing it, like, I'm going to affirm those feelings of those families, those caregivers, but then just kind of sit with them in that frustration and then positively like encourage them forward because they are doing hard work, but such meaningful work too.
So I also have another question. So my older daughter was colicky.
Okay.
I had her 25 years ago. And so from my understanding, having colic is you're pretty much having gas. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I tried to do the sleep training thing, but they say just let them cry it out. So, the cry it out method.
Got it.
But for parents that have colicky babies, how can you, because they could just be uncomfortable. They could just be gassy.
Yeah.
When do they know when to let their baby cry it out as opposed to them being uncomfortable from the colic?
Yeah. Well, I don't do cry it out method. I do a leave and check method or stay in the room method. They are a little bit different and both have crying in them, but it's less crying and less intervals of crying. And you get to help the baby in a different way. But when a kiddo has colic, like, I wonder about their schedule. I wonder about their daytime sleep and if they're getting enough daytime sleep to help combat that colic. Because typically it's like the witching hour, right? Where it just happens at night and it's, for just hours on end or an hour. And so what does their day look like? How can I support them to flip that around and make that better? Now, how do families handle the crying and know the crying is different? I would say, your child best. And their different cries. You probably know their frustrated cry or their uncomfortable cry or their hunger cry. And so really tuning into the parent's intuition and how to support the child. If they're just frustrated, let them be frustrated for a little bit and then go help and comfort and soothe with voice or touch to redirect that behavior. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. I'm just now that I bring that up, I'm having PTSD from when
I can only imagine.
I thought I wish I knew all this stuff because I would go to the doctor and they're just they're just gassy. Good luck. So, and then you mentioned witching hour. My youngest daughter, she's 7 now, Violet. Up until she was 6 months old, right at the dot at 7 p.m. She'd start crying and wouldn't stop until 9.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's a thing. Yes.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I have a 19-year-old, so it's been a while. I actually got really lucky, Bailey. So with her, I would do the leave and check method where it would be 7:00. She put her in her crib and turn off the light and I would just leave. And then I would go in and check. She would cry. But they did let us know with the starting, it's okay to let them cry.
Yeah.
Just come in and then just check. So you give them a minute then we come in 2 minutes. And then eventually she kind of figured it out herself. So I got really lucky.
You got to build that independence within your kiddo to fall asleep from point A awake to point B asleep on their own. And that's so magical.
Yes. Well, I also have other friends who really believed in the binking, in the blanket. I had a cousin of mine. She had her favorite security blanket.
Yeah.
She had it until she was like 12 years old.
Wow.
And her blanket was literally in rags.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Absolutely. I can only imagine.
But, again, to each their own. But it sounds like you kind of wean them off and give them some independence.
Yes. Okay. So this is going to sound crazy, but you think about safe sleep, and kiddos as young as 8 weeks can roll, whether they are meaning to roll or just rolling on their own through those extensor patterns. So we drop the swaddle and the passy at 8 weeks of age,
which a lot of parents won't do.
No. And then my OT heart is like, but the passy gives them such good regulation. And so I love it for daytime and daytime struggles. But like when you are trying to get your kiddo to sleep, taking away that sleep prop, that external support to help them get from that point A awake to point B asleep on their own.
Yeah. So speaking of the pacifier, like other habits like rocking the baby to sleep or feeding, nursing the baby until baby falls asleep, are we creating bad habits by doing that?
Yes. And that is a very blunt answer, but it is what it is. And those are what we call those sleep props, those external supports. And so if you think about it, you are giving your kiddo a passy or rocking to sleep. When they flip through a sleep cycle at 40 minutes in the middle of the night, they're going to need that sleep prop, that rocking or that passy again to fall asleep. And so really like building that independence. I can't talk about it enough. So kids can link their sleep cycles together to get to that restorative sleep throughout the night.
No, Bailey, one question, and this was interesting because I remember talking it over with my daughter's dad when she was younger. He's like, temperature matters. If it's too hot, it's too cold, and he was very in tune to that kind of stuff. And I was like, really? Does it really matter?
Yeah. So we suggest having a kiddo's room 68 to 72 degrees. And I think that is supported by the AAP as well.
So what are the absolute non-negotiables for safe sleep?
Per the AAP, you need to have an empty crib with just the fitted sheet, the baby, and their swaddle or their sleep sack. No bumpers, no loveys, no stuffed animals. A kiddo under 2 needs to be on a crib mattress. A kiddo older than 2 years of age is safe to be on a regular mattress. And then a kiddo older than 1 is safe to have a lovey or a stuffed animal.
So what's your take on co-sleeping? Because I know a lot of parents do it. I did it with my kids because I breastfed and it's just so easy, right? You just pick them up. Yes. Yeah. How, and I can imagine it being dangerous, but what is your take on co-sleeping?
I help my families stop it. Sorry, I'm a very dry person.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think that's what we need, though, sometimes, right, Debbie?
Yeah. Very true.
But I'm going to support you 100% of the way to stop that unsafe sleep. And per my AAP contract, I can't condone or support co-sleeping. And so I've had families that have, a 3-month-old or a 6-month-old or a 10-month-old the other week. That they only knew co-sleeping. And it's really shocking how when you give a kiddo a chance to be independent, how oftentimes they thrive. And it's the parents holding them back for whatever legit reason. But yeah, I want that baby in their crib by themselves without anything in the crib with them.
So Bailey, you mentioned you can see them starting just to thrive. What does that mean? What is thriving?
Thriving with independent sleep is you're in the thick of sleep training and a kiddo is crying, but you see them rubbing their face with their hand, or they're rubbing their face against their mattress, or they have a pause or a lull in their cry. that is the kiddo working so hard. And I just think like, oh my gosh, it gives me chills, but like they're thriving in this independent environment and they're doing the hard stuff. Maybe the parents had never given them the chance to because it's scary. They don't like to hear them cry. They're worried about attachment. But when a kiddo like connects the dots and gets to that restorative sleep, I just think of them like kicking booty and just doing great.
Now, do you ever have situations where they come to you, you work with them, they finally start getting independent, and then it unfortunately somewhere down the line goes back?
Yes.
So that is something that could reoccur.
Yes. And we have past client support where if you just need a phone call, you reach back out, or if you need like a package refresher, like we'll make you a new sleep plan. If your kiddo is a year, 2 years older, like we sleep train them at 3 months, and then you're going through the toddler regression where their independence skills are kicking up, but we're always there. I'm always there. And I tell my families, like, please reach out to me. I would love to follow you on social media. Like, I want to follow you. I want to see your kids grow, but I'm here for you if you need me in the future.
So I'm sure you deal with a lot of parents that are in tears because I'm assuming they reach out to you because at that point they're like, I don't stop.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does sleep deprivation affect postpartum mental health?
Simply put, it exasperates it. It makes that anxiety worse. It makes that sleep deprivation worse. It makes those mood changes or like insane thoughts worse. Because when a parent, like a mom going through that postpartum, her body is going through so many changes and she's not getting that restorative sleep herself that is needed to reset and regulate the body. And so it's imperative that everyone gets sleep as soon as they can because it helps you regulate. And like co-regulation is such a thing. If a parent isn't regulated, their baby's probably not going to be regulated either because they are so young and they're dependent on that co-regulation.
Now, the one advice that I always, like that always helps me was sleep when your baby sleeps. Because my first daughter, well, I was a single mom. So my first daughter, whenever she fell asleep, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do laundry. I'm going to do bottles. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you just get even more exhausted by doing all that stuff. And then by the time I had my third daughter, I slept whenever she slept. All that could be done later. And I was just like at my absolute best mentally because I slept when she slept. That along with, is there any other advice you can give to any other exhausted parents out there besides sleep when your baby sleeps to help them?
I would love to help an exhausted parent not be so exhausted. And so I would want them to try to take away those sleep props as quickly as they can.
No co-sleeping.
So the baby can sleep. Sorry?
No co-sleeping.
No co-sleeping.
Yeah. So do growth spurts have anything to do with regression?
100%.
Okay.
100%. You get a baby in a crib and they're learning how to sit or pull up to stand. They're going to practice that skill in that crib, in that safe space. They're going to practice it in their sleep because repetition is key. If a kiddo is sleep trained, you don't want to see it disrupt their sleep more than 3 to 5 days. If that's kind of your window of acceptance for hard things. I sleep trained a stander, a 10-month-old who was learning how to stand, and he would sleep standing for the first 2 hours at night for 6 days of our sleep training journey. And it was just wild. And the parents were distraught, but those motor skills definitely impact him.
So do you see a lot of clients or parents through Zoom or do you prefer to see them in person? What works best for you?
I've done a few Zoom calls, so I am completely virtually based. And so I can see anyone across the world for sleep training. I've had families request Zoom, but most of the time it's just a phone call. And then I don't get to see a picture until they've graduated and just their post-graduation picture so I can post it on my socials or I'm following them on socials.
So Bailey, what do you feel is the hardest part of all this? Like,
Consistency.
is it consistency?
Yeah. We are such in a world of we want change and we want to see progress now. And you will, but you got to stay consistent and you got to give it 3 to 5 days.
But it's always 3 to 5 days. It's like a period. So do. It's like a menstrual cycle. All right. 3 to 5 days is the magic number, right, Bailey?
It's just the magic number. And you would ask me like what I would want someone else to know. Sometimes people don't want to do sleep training because they feel like they're going to be stuck to a schedule. And so I try to educate families like you can live an 80-20 lifestyle. 80% of the time, you're following a schedule, you're doing the things, your child is sleeping independently. Mm-hmm. 20% of the time, you're having a nap on the go, or you're having a nap at a different person's house, or you're doing a contact nap. But you can live the 80-20 lifestyle and still like live your life as the parent because doing the parent things is important too.
You mentioned contact nap. What is a contact nap?
Sleeping on their chest. The baby sleeping in contact on the caregiver's body, like in a sleep contraption. The word is evading me. A carrier or just being held.
So I actually have one. I don't know if you have any parents that you've helped out with this, but I think my biggest challenge with trying to like sleep train my kids is my mom lived with me or she helped me take care of my kids.
Yeah.
So we always fought because I did the crying out with and my mom was like, don't do that. You're neglecting your eating. You know how it is, Debbie, right? So it's like,
yeah.
I had such a hard time trying to sleep train my kids because of the parent. My parent was in the way. My parent didn't agree with what I was doing. She's like, I didn't do that with you. So do you deal with parents or do you have clients that have like a parent or other person living with them?
Yes. And most of the time it is grandparents. And sometimes it can be culturally based if grandparents are just living in the home and they have their opinions about their grandchild, just like the parents have the opinion of their child. It's so both are not wrong. Both sometimes are not right either. Mm-hmm. So I try to work and affirm with each of them and get them to buy in and see what's happening and then work with them and like that 80-20 lifestyle, give and take.
I like the consistency, Bailey. I think that is really key because you're absolutely right. I think a lot of nowadays we're just so instant results and gratification.
Yes.
So just remembering that role of just giving it time and consistency.
Yeah. And
the discipline, because most of us parents when it comes to our kids, we just want to make sure that they're good and they're, and seeing them through challenges is really tough.
For sure.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Bailey, for sharing.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Bailey's also on Instagram. Can you just kind of toss out your Instagram handle there just in case any of our parents or if any of our listeners want to reach out?
So it's sleepwise_Bailey.
Sleepwise_Bailey.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This is super helpful. I mean, everyone needs sleep. Sleep is very important. I mean, I don't even think I have my 18-year-old, I still can't sleep when she's out. So do you deal with older?
I am only certified through 7 years of age, but by consulting my parent company, they do adults. And so there's different sleep consultants that are trained in the adult world.
No, well, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with perimenopause as well, but that's a whole new different thing. So,
whole other gamut.
Well, thank you so much, Bailey, for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Hope you have a great day.
You too.
Take care.